I have a question to throw you off from the 10 minutes of prep you just did.
Yeah.
Is it bad if your vagina's purple? Is that a bad thing?
Actually, I think it becomes purple after you give birth sometimes, right?
It does, doesn't
Yeah.
it? From lack of oxygen
Really?
flowing to the vagina.
You would think it'd have more oxygen because the baby's breathing into it.
I don't know if that's true though, but it does make sense.
Really?
Yeah.
That's weird to me. Anyways, hello and welcome to StarCraft 2 Amateur Hour, presented by Starcraft.org.
I'm Negative Suns.
I'm Guns Akimbo, and today we're doing a rehash of an episode.
Redux. Redo.
Reduck? Quack.
Version 2.
Of cheese builds. So we did some cheese build episode a while back during beta. A lot of
that
people
was during
liked
the
it.
beta.
Yeah, and so we said, you know what? Sometimes we got to give the people what they want.
Yeah. It's like our most popular episode ever.
Yeah, even though I hate that. I hate popular.
Yeah, I hate popular
I want to be the
things.
underdog always,
Yeah.
which we are.
We are always...
Always forever. So we're going to be focusing on 3 games today. Cheeses from each different race.
You spoiled the whole episode. You told them
Did I?
it's
Seriously?
3 games.
Oh, sorry guys. 3 games.
Yeah.
They're stupid though. Like StarCraft players have the bad attention span of like
Yeah.
pretty much in the queen cycle. Every time you have to spit with your queen, your attention span resets.
Yeah.
Or chrono boost, whatever you want to call
Whatever
it.
it is, make it SCV.
Yeah. So
That would make a good t-shirt. StarCraft players have the attention span that it takes to macro.
yeah. So we wanted to bring a bit of an evolution of that last episode because back then we were stupid.
Yeah.
Since then, I had.
Well, the game's grown a lot too since then.
I've grown a lot.
I've grown
as
a
a
lot,
person. I've felt more purple vagina
Yeah.
in my mind, and so we didn't want to focus so much on just like how crazy cheese is. We
And
wanted
also like how bad it is and complaining about it because it's really. I mean, like I think it's good. We even said that then, but I really think it's good now too. Like if you can beat cheese, you're an awesome player.
yeah.
And if you can even do some cheeses, like if you're doing a best of 3, if you cheese the first game, that really throws your opponent off the second game. I think it's a great move, actually.
Yeah, and also I think some players, as much as I hate it, can take away how to cheese better. Maybe if we make some good points in this episode.
Yeah, and one thing that I really want to point out, and this is more of a theme throughout the whole episode, not specific to this game, is that people who are relying on cheese-oriented play or surprise tactics or all-ins, there's like a few minor tweaks you can make and to change your all-in and cheese into something that has a follow-through in a late game. And usually it's just by stopping at a certain point and expanding. And
Yeah, because cheese doesn't have to like. I don't want to get into what is cheese and what's not.
yeah,
But there's those
that's
fine
a slippery
lines.
slope, Gunza.
I like slippery. Do you use moisturizer down there to keep you not bleeding?
No, but one time, speaking of slippery slopes, me and my friends when I was like 9, it snowed, and so we thought it would be awesome for sledding the next day. They had a really big hill in their backyard.
Okay.
We took water and like put water all down the hill.
Okay.
And the next morning when I was the first one on the sled, I went so fast that I slid off and my face slid down the snow. And all of the sharp ice that we had made the night before literally tore half my face off.
That's nice.
Yeah.
That's why you have a beard now to
Yeah,
hide
to
the
it.
scars.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a game with you versus someone from StarCraft.org, Kismet, and we're not trying to bash Kismet. Kismet's a great player.
Oh, he's so good.
A creative player, and he had some cheese in some games against you, so we thought it was a good game. So we're doing it.
Yep.
So can you get the intelligent flow started because I'm
Yeah,
really
sure.
bad at intelligence.
And I like to use the word cheese, but I also sometimes I feel like it's misleading from what we're talking about. So I'm gonna try to say all in as much as possible, but I'm also gonna say cheese just because it's a fun word.
Yeah, it's nice.
Cheese is definitely a funnier word than all in.
Yeah.
But I think they're pretty much the same thing, and at least for me, I consider all in and cheese to be anything that's all in and not scouted, or that not scoutable.
Well, it's different. Very difficult to scout.
Difficult to scout.
Yeah.
And that's even a fine line itself, which is why it's such a slippery slope. Like you said, I don't think we should focus on that too much.
Yeah. Okay, so what we do see here is the obvious signs of leading up to right now the Terran going for starport build.
Yeah. He actually goes for double starport build. And it's very common for Terrans to go for a 1-1-1 build, which is where they get a barracks, and then a factory, and then a starport. And the moment that you put the second starport down is the moment that you're committing to something that is going to be probably a little bit cheesier. Usually it's going to be Banshees because they have enough. They can make enough medevacs off of one starport. The second starport is usually only for Banshees or cheese.
Yeah.
So really, if I scouted him right now, which I can't because he's Terran, he rolled off his ramp, I would see two starports rather, and think to myself,
all right, going against normal Terran cheese.
yeah, basically. So and you can actually make enough Banshees with just one starport. So getting two is like really a sign of like you're gonna make a lot of Banshees. So this is one reason why when I'm against Terran as Protoss, I like to get early robotics, and I like to get a observer out because it's one of the only ways to guarantee scouting information at this critical time mark when you should be scouting for cheese.
So critical time mark, in your opinion, against Terran, especially in its TVP matchup, or for a Banshee harass, is around the 7-minute mark?
I mean, I think it's like more around the 8-minute mark. Like 6 to 8 minute mark is a good time to scout what they're doing.
Okay.
This is coming actually a teensy-weensy bit late, I think.
Teensy-weensy.
Teensy-weensy. This gives me, this scouting at this timing...
You're going to force me to use the word faggot again.
Yeah. Okay. Scouting at this timing gives me very short period in which to respond at my base.
Yeah.
I would like to scout a little earlier than this, like, so I guess the 7-minute mark.
Yeah, so you've seen the Banshee now, and your response is, oh my god, stalkers!
Yeah. I actually get a Forge also immediately when I see the Banshee, which is just thinking to myself, I'm not going to have enough time to get enough stalkers out.
Yeah, so let me reinforce with cannons when I can.
A big part of defending against cheese, if you're the defending player, is being able to make decisions quickly.
Yeah.
That are gonna take into account the whole situation. Like I knew immediately that I only had 2 gateways and I wasn't gonna be able to get out enough stalkers, so I quickly threw down that cannon. One mistake I made here is I actually left my observer in his base, which is really dumb. In this sort of situation.
Well, I think that's part of the whole freak out of you see cheese coming. So in this game so far, you've done a good job. You've scouted it. So that's the first lesson for all players of knowing when to scout, knowing if a player is walling off that you need to get a scout on, and then at that point you're so caught up in like, okay, I gotta get stalkers, gotta get cannons. That's so easy, and I think cheese a lot of times relies on that shock of, oh shit.
Yeah, it's true. One thing to remember when you're going into Banshees, especially for the first 2 Banshees, is if you do freak out like that, try to stay calm, because you have to realize also that Banshees actually start out with very little energy.
Yeah.
So there's a good chance if you can stay calm that they'll decloak relatively soon if you run your probes around, spread your probes out, that you'll be able to get there, that you'll be able to, you'll have some timing, because when the Banshees uncloak, you'll be able to do some damage to them, and by the time they send their next wave of Banshees, you should be able to get up some detection.
Yeah. Oh man, I was going to say that's a huge lesson, and I forgot what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Oh no, the probes running back and forth. I feel like that's such a big thing for all forms of, especially air cheese, that you can really save so much of your economy just by transferring your probes between your expansions, just because they can only be in one place at once usually.
Yeah.
And so we see here on the production overlay that Kismet sees the Banshee push working, so he continues to build.
Yeah.
And I think...
And he's sort of in that mode a little bit already from his build order. I mean, he did get this 2 starports. Now he's getting some extra barracks.
Yeah.
Which is a good follow-up. I like his follow-up. I do think that he stays on Banshees a little too long, which we're going to get into that, though. This is also a best of 3 with him. This is for an awesome little in-house ladder we have at Starcraft called Grog's Ladder.
Yeah.
So
if you want to participate in a cool little best of 3 tournament thing, just come to starcraft.org. In the forum, there's Grog's Ladder. There's a bunch of players now, and it's really fun.
Yeah, so this is definitely a game that he wants to win. He won the first game, actually. This is game 2 for us. So he also can, in this kind of situation, he can feel a little bit risky. Like he can go a little bit all in. So I think that's why he sticks with the Banshees. There's a chance he can just win it right here if he does enough damage. Yeah. It sort of makes sense as a decision, but I do think it's a good idea to always be prepared with a follow-up.
Yeah, and that's one of the big things I find in cheese game, when you're dealing with cheese and stuff like this on ladder, is there's a couple different levels, I think, of StarCraft players, and I feel like the StarCraft player that might be watching the show, that enjoys watching replays, that if you're watching replays, you're also most likely watching higher level replays too, from pros.
Yeah. Hold on, Gunsim. I'm sorry to
Sure.
interrupt you. I think we're jumping around a little bit.
Okay.
A little bit. I just want to make a clear point to everybody that there's definitely two sides of this. There's the side from the player who's doing the cheese and having a good plan, but like I think you're getting into now is the side of the defender.
Yeah.
Also, and like your point is geared towards them, towards players who watch a lot of replays and are used to seeing a certain amount of effort put into an all-in or into a cheese.
Yeah.
And your point is?
My point is that you get very used to seeing like, okay, so this guy did some cheese. He got like 2, maybe at most 4 banshees out, did the damage he needed to, and you got the response. And you're like, okay, well, he sees I have the response now.
Right.
Now he's going to stop. He has a slight leg up, and I got to work hard.
And now he's going to transition into like a
he's
strong
gonna
push
transition,
or
yeah.
a ground army.
But so, like on ladder, almost every time that happens,
Well, really in lower leagues, I would say. Not necessarily only on
anything
ladder.
below diamond,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen. There's this whole big part of like, okay, now Banshee harass is over, then 8 more Banshees come into your base, and that kills me almost every time. And I think
it's really hard to get used to.
And I think a really good point, especially on ladder, especially in really anything, for any game, is never assume they're transitioning.
Yeah, never assume that the all-in is going to end.
Until you, like, visibly see it.
Yeah, this is something that we were talking about earlier before the episode. This is a major point for people who are trying to defend, who are trying to play a macro game, get to the late game, and defending against these all-in type attacks, is you can see here that I'm spending a lot of money on constantly getting stalkers and detection.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting a lot of cannons, and I'm getting a lot of stalkers. And the reason why is because you, like Guns Kimbo was just saying, you can never assume that they're going to stop. Like, right now he's about to attack me with, what? I think it's like 27 Banshees.
Yeah.
So
400.
So,
and a battle cruiser.
And a
down
battle
here.
cruiser. Yeah, he's going to bring an SUV
yeah,
and repair that. But no, I mean, like, it's very important to never assume it's going to end. And so that's why I have so many stalkers. Even better transition here for me would be to get Blink also, because Blink is awesome against fighting against air. And so I think that's really the key, is that if I didn't overreact according to what you would see in a pro replay or in a diamond level game.
Yeah.
If I didn't overreact here, build so many stalkers and build cannons everywhere, that I don't think that I would be able to even stay in this game. I mean, even at this point, I'm still underreacting somewhat, and I'm getting so much stalkers here and observers and cannons. I'm still underreacting, and you'll see in a minute that if you do underreact like that, they can snipe you.
Yeah. What I do like though is I see the attack coming. Is that part of the kind of brilliance of the way he's pulling this off? Is you had the observer in his base, you saw all those barracks, thinking maybe he's switching, maybe he's trying to force you to think that, while he's just hiding all these Banshees here to continue the all-in attack.
And you can see that even with that's a really good point too. Deception plays into it a lot, especially in a best of 3 like this. But more to just on a general overreacting from cheese point of view, like you can see that even with as many stalkers that I had, all the cannons I had, that just by still getting zealots in preparation for his ground army instead of more cannons, and trying to get some Colossus out to defend against an infantry push, it was too much. Like I shouldn't have done that. To the point where he was able to come in and snipe my Nexus, and now I'm in an awful situation.
Yeah.
So
would you say that you have to you give the advice that when you're playing people on ladder who are going cheese, you have to look at them as rapists?
Yeah, you almost have to look at them as rapists.
So you're in New York, and you're hanging out, and you're being raped by a Starcraft player.
Yeah.
You're not just gonna think like, this guy is just gonna stop. He's just gonna pull out and stop.
Yeah. Well, and also another one point is to is
that true?
Yeah, you have to assume that
Okay,
that it's not gonna stop.
Okay, so
but
it's
talking
official,
more about the
Kismet's a
game,
rapist.
yeah.
Sorry.
You always bring out these really funny examples of stuff, but at the exact time that I want to talk about something else.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Okay.
But in this situation, having had my natural taken out, there comes a point in a lot of these sorts of games where you're up against somebody who's all in like this and cheesing, where there's a point where you should push them, and it usually comes when you see when I saw that he got so many Banshees.
Yeah.
Really, I should have an observer here with my army. That would make this not a bad attack by me, which it kind of is, because he has a bunch of cloaked Banshees here.
We'll finish your point. Stop getting sidetracked, douche.
So, the point is that he put so much money into an air army for harassing that I've been countering effectively all along, getting, stalkers, getting cannons, yada yada. And there comes a point where I realize that I put so much money into stopping him that my army counters his, and he can't have another army on the ground.
Yeah.
So, and here he really didn't, and I'm able to actually do a lot of damage. I take out almost all of his workers.
Yeah, even though you haven't been able to touch these banshees, and that's always the critical point too of looking at how much you've been harassed,
Right.
how much has been thrown at you, and just understanding like this guy put everything into this, so he obviously he put so much into A that he's not going to have B.
Absolutely.
And then knowing that critical point at which to push, and I think that's different for every matchup and every game.
And here you can see that even though he took out, you always have to remember where you're standing. You have to think about it in terms of not only what he's done to you, and here you see me doing that overreacting of I got so many cannons here, and I think I'm getting cannons in my main also. It's good because honestly, in this sort of situation, like right now with that attack that I just did, it's 34 probes for me to 4 SCVs for him.
Okay.
I'm winning this game as long as I can stay in it at this point because of that. Like his income is going to be shit. So really, it comes to the point of like, what's a better mineral sink for me right now? And by mineral sink, I mean I'm going to have extra. I'm gas capped, and another way of saying that is that like all the units that I really want to make right now are going to cost more gas.
Yeah.
So what am I going to put all that extra minerals into? Are zealots going to be good here? Not really, because they don't do shit against banshees. Yeah. So it's better to put all that spare gas into cannons that try to keep
spare minerals.
All that spare minerals rather into cannons, because they keep you alive. And right now with 40 probes to 8 SCVs, really all I need to do is just keep my nexuses alive, which I'm having a hard time doing. Because banshees are so good. I mean, they're really good. You really need to surround your nexus like I'm doing here in order to be safe against this.
Yeah, well, I feel like a lot of cheese has the exact same effect of you're just overwhelmed. And you're like, Christ, stop. Like that's why I feel like Terran. That's why I hate Terran players, because it's like the perfect cheese race where they can just keep banshee rushing, you keep dropping you. Where your mind is just like, holy shit, I can't be everywhere.
Yeah, no, it's true. You're stressed to be everywhere, which is another reason why I like getting cannons, because people are trained, that people who watch, especially once again going back to your point of people who watch pro games, are trained to think if I get too many cannons, that's bad, I'm losing.
Yeah, it's static defense, and it can't be used for anything later on.
But that's not always true. Like in this sort of situation, you have to overreact. Like I said before already, he had 7 SCVs, I have 40 probes. I'm winning this game. I can put as many cannons down as I really want. And in this sort of situation where I need to overreact so strongly, that's only gonna, like, sometimes it comes to the point where, because like you're saying, like they're not gonna only build 4 banshees, kill some probes, and then run back and build a ground army. They're gonna build 20 banshees.
Yeah.
And so, and the reason why is not because they're bad. The reason why is because at a high level of play, like at a diamond and a pro level of play, they're so aware of every little bit of mineral that they're spending and what's gonna set them behind, and they know that if they build like a 5th banshee, then their ground army can get attacked and killed.
Yeah.
So they won't do that. But at this level of play, when you don't have such an intense feeling for, number 1, all of those minerals, and number 2, where there's a little bit more leeway because players make mistakes at this level of play. I'm not going to punish him dramatically for every small mistake that he makes like a pro would. There is a little bit more wiggle room, and so he can't afford to make more banshees. So it's actually good to make more banshees at this level of play because I can't punish him for doing it the way that a pro could punish him.
Yeah.
So with those sort of rules being in place, it's kind of like you have to overreact to it if you don't want to just risk dying to it.
So you have to become a rapist to stop rapists?
Exactly.
So you have to,
the best way to kill a rapist is to rape him.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you rape a rapist?
Yeah. If you rape them first, they die.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of like, like in Mario Brothers when you jump on top of the Goomba's head?
Oh, because
same thing happens.
But the Goomba's not trying to jump on you.
Same, it doesn't matter.
Really? So Mario Brothers is a rape simulator?
Yes.
Japanese rape simulator.
So here's another point also, is that you see I'm transitioning out of Void Rays. Now that I'm safe, now that I'm secure, I have all my mass cannons up. The only thing that I'm really worried about him now is him flying a bunch of banshees and suiciding and killing my nexuses.
Yeah.
I decide that it's time for me to try to take control, which is why I get the Void Rays.
Yeah.
The Void Rays are not a unit I want to get massively preemptively to him getting so many banshees, because if I get a lot of Void Rays and he switches to all Marines on the ground,
you're kind of screwed.
I'm kind of screwed.
Yeah.
So this is why I get so many Stalkers first, and now at this point, after I see that he's getting Vikings, he's invested so much money in banshees.
Yeah.
He has so many starports. Now I get a few Void Rays, because what the Void Rays allow me to do is move out onto the map and take map control.
So essentially, you're using the initial thing of him pumping too much of the cheese units, staying with that unit composition or a form of it to your own advantage at this point.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's sort of the mentality of like, if I can spend 20 minutes of this game defending his Banshee attack in my base where I have static D, and sculpting my unit composition to kill what he's making to harass me, and that's all he has, then when I move out onto the map, I'm still going to have the units that counter his units.
Yeah.
So it's an awesome opportunity to take map controls after you defend something like this.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you look at resources lost right now, it's pretty even because of how much damage he's done.
Okay.
But the dynamic of the game right now is such that he has units that he spent his entire game making air attack units like Banshees, and he has some Vikings which are gonna be okay against my Colossus, which he's seen, but are gonna kind of die to the Void Rays and also die to the Stalkers. So really he has Vikings which die to my Stalkers, Banshees which die to my Stalkers and my Void Rays, and not much else than that.
Yeah.
Because he spent his whole game building from starports. So here you can see that even though I think he snipes the Colossus. No, he doesn't even get to. I mean, actually, Void Rays are really good against Vikings, which is something a lot of people don't realize. The Vikings have longer range, but if you're in a situation like where you can force them to fight, like you're pushing them, then Void Rays can really be good against Vikings.
I feel like Void Rays are good against everything, personally.
Void Rays are pretty good against everything, yeah.
I even feel like enough Void Rays are good against Marines.
Marines are the one point where it gets hard, especially once they have stim. But yeah, I agree with you.
I mean, it's a separate point. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
It's a micro-intensity. But yeah, essentially the point of this game right here is to sum up the Banshee push, cheese. Do you have any final summations that you'd like to do?
To sum it up, I would say the key is in chronological order. Here, I once again make the mistake of not having an observer, so that's the first one I'm going to make. Always, when you do finally get to the point where you can push out, always bring detection.
Yeah.
So
and protect your detection, even as Zerg going against the Banshee stuff, and they'll bring Vikings into the fray. Just like it's so hard to keep your detection alive sometimes.
Yeah. It's stressful sometimes, especially like in a best of 3 like this. Like I was saying, sometimes you make stupid mistakes like that.
Yeah.
Which it is a stupid mistake. But I'm in a lead here because even though that's a horrible mess up, I do have these Void Rays. So by the time my slow observer gets his butt over here, I'll still probably have three Void Rays to his Banshees, which is all that's going to be left. So it's not going to. I'll be fine.
Okay.
But so anyway, in chronological order, these are the points I want to make. Number 1, know the timing that you have to scout it. The usual signs. First of all, there's 2 points for the scout. There's 2 aspects of the scouting point. Number 1 is that there's some tells that Terran might be teching to some of my Banshees. Number 1 is if they get an early second gas. Number 2 is if they build a barracks. I mean a
factory.
No. A bunker at their ramp.
Okay.
Because even though they can wall off, a lot of times they still be afraid of a break to their wall.
Okay.
So if you see that they've built a bunker, then it's also another good tell that they're going to be teching. But also in general, if you don't have those tells, it's still a good idea to make sure you re-scout at about the 7-minute mark, which is about the timing that the first Banshee will be.
Or the first starport.
You'll see the first starport. You might even, if they're really fast, you might even see the first Banshee, and it'll give you enough time to get detection up and get a defense up. So that's the first point. The second point is in chronological order, is in the actual defense of the attack, is that you want to always try to be prepared. If it's like a cloak attack, you want to have detection. You want to have the counter to what they're doing, obviously. But also, even more so than that, is you want to never assume that it's going to stop at a safe unit count.
Yeah.
Like, if you're expecting like a 1 Banshee harass or even like a 4 Banshee harass, which a 4 Banshee harass in a pro game would be like very all-in-ish.
Yeah. But on ladder, it's
on ladder you could see 20 Banshees.
Yeah.
So never assume that it's gonna stop.
Never assume your opponent is aware of what should be happening for his own sake later in the game.
Right, exactly. Because a lot of times you get to the point where like it's like if they spent so much money at Banshees, if the game had gotten to the point where you could push, you would have won. But it never gets there because they built so many Banshees.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of building so many Banshees. So you want to be so safe when you're in a ladder situation and you see cheese like this, that you keep going with the defense until the point where you see solidly that they've done something else.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 major points I think from this game that are general points, not specific to the races.
I like it. You want to get on to a game 2?
Sure, let's go.
All right, let's do it. All right, we're back into game 2, but before we start, we've had a donation link on our Starcraft.org page.
Yeah.
Because,
It's very serious.
Yeah, just for the Christmas season, there is this beautiful Mexican woman,
Yeah.
Isabella. It's $2,000 for us to get her for a week,
Yeah.
and we're trying to get that goal.
So please donate to StarCraft Amateur Hour to fuel our addiction to Mexican women.
It's beautiful. They're beautiful. Oh
Beautiful.
God. And they, you know what I like best too, especially in the Mexico City area, the way they drive. They drive these.
So good.
They are all race car drivers essentially.
Yeah, they are race car drivers.
Yeah.
Which,
And
if
also,
you didn't know, race cars are sex.
yeah. All cars are sex.
Yeah, especially race cars.
And if there's money left over from that gift for ourselves, we're going to use the rest of the money to buy a video camera for the show.
Yeah.
So you can see more of us and watch me shave more and watch Negative freak out in person.
Yeah. That's pretty much what we did live.
Yeah. So there's a Protoss player named Henry.
Yeah, no, I loved his name. I thought that was great.
Like Henry the Protoss.
It's like, like I just imagine him saying his name is Henry. I'm Henry.
What I love more is when guys obviously like did their first and last name of like
John Schmick.
Yeah. Like you might as well put your address in there too.
Yeah,
Like,
telephone number. Your ID is your telephone number.
I live in Allendale, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I have buttery bits of brownie in my beard.
yeah, I cooked brownies last night.
That's an alliteration, you know. It's also a tongue twister. Try to say that fast. Buttery bits of brownie in my beard. You can't do it.
I don't want to try. I just know that I'm domesticated and that you enjoy it.
Yeah.
So, Christ. All right. So,
Anyways.
Henry is fighting Negative Suns again because Negative Suns has a lot of replays that were very well organized. So we're just using from his batch today for.
But
this episode.
also because we've had a shortage of user submitted replays, so we just want to remind you guys to constantly keep sending your amateur level games to us at amateurhour@starcraft.org.
That's right, or just post them on the forums, or even on StarCraft.org as a whole replays section where you could post your own replays and people will comment on them.
We're doing something a little different though, because we in the past we always get like a lot of like 3v3 games and 2v2 games, which is great. We love you guys that you submit those.
And I keep saying, please don't.
Yeah.
Like, please, like, we don't cast 2v2s or 3v3s.
We tried once, but it just made us both want to shoot our heads.
Yeah.
So
Oh my god, double chrono boost, you're cheesing with zealots.
yeah, no. If you guys want to go check out our episode from 2 weeks ago, we did a PvP episode where I talk about Protoss openings, and I think that 2-gate is a very strong standard Protoss opening. So that's what I'm doing here.
Yeah, in the PvP, and it's called StarCraft 2 Amateur Hour, Protoss Wang on Wang.
Yeah, and so because mirror matches are a lot like sticking your wee against a mirror of yourself.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, the point is that this is another benefit of going with that 2-gate zealot pressure build, is that you get a lot of scouting information, and so normally instead of like staying defensively in your base when you're pressuring with zealots, you really get to see if they are going for some sort of tech or some sort of cheese. You see it, and scouting information is key, which is why like previously in the Terran game we were talking about how it's important to build a robo bay early as Protoss.
Yeah.
Or, as any race, to scout at a certain timing. Here, in this game, I'll be able to scout at that timing just with my pressure, so I'll be able to see exactly what he's doing.
Yeah, and that goes for, I think, any race. If you're playing as Zerg, if you're playing as anyone.
Yeah.
And even if you're not going for pressure, usually looking for a Protoss cheese, especially a map like this, the wall-up is much harder.
Yeah.
And it's much easier to get in to see what's happening. But one of the first telltale signs, I feel like, of what we're leading up to here is you were in his base, you saw a cyber core go down, but there weren't any chrono boost on it at all.
Yeah, the stages of scouting are always very important, because you have to... This is like an interesting thought that I always have about it. It's kind of like the way that I see scouting, is that in the beginning of the game you have an infinite number of possibilities. And with every bit of scouting information you have to know all of the possibilities that you're eliminating. It's almost like checking off options on a list that aren't being done. And when you go into a base where Protoss went 1-gate and then core, you automatically can start to worry about a 4-gate. a 4-gate timing attack.
I hate 4-gate. In my opinion, 4-gate's cheese. I hate 4-gate.
I think it's cheese too.
I hate it.
But the thing is about it is that when Protoss is going for 4-gate, they'll chrono boost that Cybercore like right away, pretty much, almost without fail, unless they're bad at doing their attack.
And so one of the first things you saw in this game, which was a telltale sign that he was going for early Stargate with Void Rays, was the fact that, you know, you're in there, you see a Cybercore, you don't see any chrono boost on it, so he's obviously saving them for something else.
Well, it's not so much that, so much as, for me as the scouter and as a Protoss player, the thought process is that, so I see that he's not chronoing his core, so I'm not going to be super worried about an early 4-gate attack.
Yeah.
So therefore, I can rescout later. A lot of catching cheese is knowing when to rescout. It just so happens that here with my pressure, that I'm able to rescout well because of that. But in a situation where you're not able to pressure, you have to know that if you scout and you see that the core goes down without any chrono boosts on it, that a good timing to rescout is around the 7-minute mark once again.
Yeah, because 7-minute mark is either that they'll have their tech down, they'll have their cheese tech down coming at you, just about, or you're gonna see those 3 extra gateways just flying.
Right.
Well,
here's the thing. Actually, is on a 4-gate push, for a 4-gate push, you'd want to scout around the 4-minute and 20-second mark, just to make sure that they're not 4-gating, because that's about the time that you would put the 3 extra gates down, and to see their tech, if they're going for like a gate core tech kind of build, like he's doing here, you want to. It's not really the 7-minute mark, more as like the 6:50-ish mark. So really, if you scout around 5, if you're around 4.5 minutes and you're there at 5 minutes, you should see everything you need to see.
Okay.
It's just important to know the timings to see this kind of stuff. That's another major point I want to say about defending and holding off cheeses is that there's two aspects of it. One is being able to, when you see what's coming, respond quickly and efficiently and immediately with the right choices, and knowing what the right choices are against every option. But another side of it, and that's like the fast reflexes side of the coin, but the other side of defending all-ins and cheeses is having a build order set up that allows for proper scouting at the right timings and safe play, which is why against Terran I'll get a robo early.
So working your scouting for it into your normal build order,
right? You know, knowing when you should send a probe to the dark corner of your base to scout for a prophecy pylon that might be getting built there. Those are things that you can do every game that aren't so much about fast reflexes or about being quicker than your opponent.
It's about just mechanical training.
It's about your build order, basically. Yeah. It's sort of the repetitive aspect of being prepared. Yeah. You want to do those sorts of things. You know, in a lot of games, if I haven't scouted the Zerg at about the 10-minute mark, the 9.5-minute mark, I'll put a couple cannons in my mineral line, because
I mean, it's not ideal, but
it's not ideal. But if I haven't been able to scout, I don't want to just die to mutas showing up.
Yeah.
So it's something that I think that if you haven't been able to scout, it's better to put those couple hundred minerals into your mineral line into defense than lose in 2 minutes.
You don't feel that in those blind cases that it's better to build non-static defense? It all depends.
Yeah, it really depends on what you're going. Yeah. Like if I'm going for a blink attack or blink stalkers for Zerg, I'll usually just make more stalkers.
Yeah.
But if I'm doing something else than that, like I'm going for a fast expand into some sort of tech option or into Colossus or something, then I will usually just get a. Then I'll usually just put some cannons. And also here's the other point is that if the this is also a little more specific, so I'll make it quick and get done with it. In a verse Zerg, if they're not getting Zerglings, if they're getting like Roach Hydra, getting extra Zealots, which is the only thing Protoss has to put minerals in, other than cannons that are just minerals, and Warp Prisms, which are sort of useless.
Yeah.
That unless they're making a lot of Speedlings, those Zealots aren't going to be great. So it's almost sometimes better to put that money into cannons.
Yeah. Okay. Well, back to this. This is another situation too where I feel like Henry is doing the same thing of, okay, well, you obviously have the counter. Link just finished, so you can be aggressive with your links.
Right. I want to talk about that actually.
Yeah, but let's not yet.
Okay. Go ahead.
And he's continuing to commit. You know, and the same point of the first game of you're forced to then overcommit. To overreact in the same exact way. But one of the points I want to make too is just in the general setup with Void Rays of against any race too. Even when I go against Protoss a lot of times, I feel like just building placement is important too in being worried about possible cheese. I almost feel like having your buildings this far out is kind of a little bit scary, especially going against Void Rays, giving them the ability the ability to charge up on, like, here, in a place where your stalkers easily can't just blink into them or get to them.
Yeah, I might actually want to watch some parts of this game again, as we're talking, because I think there's a lot of really good points that we've missed. But I think that's a really good thing to talk about first. And I actually thought a lot about my building. You can actually pause for this because we were just talking about placement. I thought a lot about my building placement as I was doing this game. If you look at my base, you can see that I get what you're saying, but you have to realize that, that I think against Void Rays, any placement that you have, the outermost buildings are going to be somewhat vulnerable. I think the most important thing to prepare for is if you look at the edges of my base that are in space, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not building near those edges so much.
And I think that's a huge.
I'm trying to build close to the middle of my base. And also another important thing to note is that my tech buildings, so my Twilight Council and my Dark Shrine,
are at the heart.
Which we'll talk about in a minute. The Dark Shrine, I want to comment on that, are towards the middle in a safe area. And this is really, I'm going to say this really quick because there's not that much more to it than this. It's just kind of a fact, is that when you're getting harassed by air, so Banshees and Void Rays and Mutalisks and whatever, as Protoss, getting Stalkers with Blink is critical because Blink allows you to dictate where and when you engage. You have to think of it using it like Terran players use Stim for their Marines to catch mutas. In that you don't want to blink. You don't want to say, "Oh, he's attacking me with his air units, blinking, haha."
Yeah.
What you want to do is you want to just attack normally into him when he's harassing you, and then do some damage. And then when he tries to get away from you, blink after him to kill stuff.
Yeah.
So that way you do the maximum amount of damage from your blink, which is what Terrans do with Stim. They'll move their Marines in normally, and then once the mutas try to fly away, they'll Stim and kill some mutas.
Yeah. And I think even part of that, in being defensive here, the building placement plays into that because those units have to come in. Even if they just want to do corner harassment, they have to actually come into your base.
That's actually why I brought it up. You're so smart,
you can defend, and then as you try to pull away, there's still area for you to come back through. And that's the same thing for any other race. You know, Zerg, you have to you drop an extra creep tumor in your base to compensate for your Hydras having to get from here to here quickly. It's all relative points, except Zerg don't have stim, but they do like drugs.
But they do have fast creep movement.
Zerg on cocaine.
And brownies?
Yeah. Do you think cocaine would affect Zerg? Or they're already just like freaking?
I don't know. They already have so much adrenaline already. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say.
I wonder if humans were exposed to creep, if it would be a catnip kind of thing.
Maybe. I don't know. I feel like Zergs, their metabolism's good enough that like their bodies can like push out any chemicals. Like I don't think drugs would work on Zergs. They're just too evolved.
Yeah.
Like their bodies would deal with it properly.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Sucks. So they're straight edge.
They just can't. They can't enjoy.
They're either straight edge or on too many chemicals that they can't deal with more.
Yeah.
That they can deal with more.
So here's some quick points just about like my tech stuff.
Okay.
Which I guess is a little bit race specific as Protoss.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to keep it a little bit general, but you can be race specific.
I think these are good points.
Good.
Here's one. There you see. Here's one thing about engaging. I'm actually not able to get any kills there, but ideally you get some kills. One important thing about engaging Voiders that is very general is that you have to, you do have to have some intelligence in terms of when you, this is actually something I want to talk about in a second, so maybe we'll pause real quick. When you're engaging Void Rays, you want to think about the fact that they charge up. So when they're attacking your base, ideally you're going to fight them when they're not charged. A lot of times they'll start charging up before you can get there, and they'll get charged before you can defend. And at that point you have to make a decision. If you have to look at how close they are to your next building in your base. And if they're close enough to that next building that they can maintain their charge, then you might as well just go attack them right away because you're not going to get any benefit by waiting.
Okay.
But if they're far enough away from whatever the next building is that they're going to be able to target, that they're going to lose their charge, then you should just pull back and wait.
Because wait for you to build up enough units that you're completely confident.
Just wait for them to lose their charge. Because if you run in there and attack them while they're charged, they're just going to keep that charge on your units.
Yeah. Okay.
So Now to switch modes really abruptly and talk about the DT a little bit is against this sort of harass. Right now, I can't leave my base. I have to make stalkers and I have to stay in my base because he has Void Rays to harass me. So if I leave my base, it's just a perfect opportunity for him to counterattack me and backstab my workers with his Void Rays. It's risky for me to leave. So what I decided to do in that situation is think to myself, well, if he's invested in Stargate, that means he probably doesn't have a Robo, which means that he probably doesn't have an Observer. So the perfect thing to do is to take the next step in my tech that I'm already in, Blink Stalkers, get a Dark Shrine, and try to attack him with a Dark Templar because I can't leave my base and because he's going to be vulnerable without detection. And this is a little bit Protoss specific, but it's also realizing when you can and can't move out and finding a way to get ahead even if you can't move out.
Yeah, well, there's certain other things you can do as well as other races, like say for like Zerg has their own options as well. And it's a little bit tough when you're defending, but when you're in this kind of position where at this point you're comfortable, like you've held the cheese off so long, you're just comfortable. You know, from roaches with burrow to one single infestor that can burrow and just sit there and infest a Terran.
Totally.
Like,
or even just a circling backstab is really great against Protoss players.
It's just a matter of...
And what I mean... Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. What I mean by that is a really good tactic for backstabbing Protoss as Zerg is just, if the Protoss moves out, just run all of your speedlings into their base and attack their mineral lines.
Just keeping them back in their base. But it's just a matter of wresting control back from... wresting that panic scenario out of your head and putting it back into theirs.
Right,
and that's a very slow crawl, I feel like, with cheese sometimes. And it's all about cool response, not freaking out, knowing exactly what you need, exactly how to place everything. And just, I think it just takes a lot of training, too, of being in the situations of being like, you know, like there's so many times when you're cheese with a fresh cheese, too, when you're just like, I can't believe this is happening, fuck. Yeah. And you kind of just give up.
Totally.
So it's totally a...
it's totally very important to stay calm when you're dealing with this sort of thing, and it's important that when you build to realize that once you build the right thing, when you scout it and you build the right response fastly, if that's a word,
quickly,
that you don't need to be scared anymore, that you're in control, and all you have to worry about is engaging right and not doing something stupid like moving out. Yeah. And so now at this point, I am moving out because it's something like 12 workers to 32. I'm just wrecking his workers with my DT, and I realized that he doesn't have a ground army. He's just been pouring all of his money into Void Rays. So this is also another important time when dealing with this sort of thing, when they do go all in with cheese like this, is realizing that right now I can just roll over anything they have. I'm 80 food to 25.
Yeah, and that's exactly the carryover point from the first game too. Right. Of you know, you've seen what, probably like 8 Void Rays now. Yeah, and that's a lot.
And I've killed
gas.
A lot too. I've killed a lot of Void Rays. I don't know
and
how
also
many. He's only attacking with Void Rays, and I've killed 660, whatever.
But there's so many multiple points in the math of, okay, you've seen so many Void Rays, you've seen them out early, so he sacrificed so much early econ to deal with that. Yeah. And again, you can just make basic assumptions of, oh, cool, he must not have much in Department B then. Totally. Again, just a carryover point.
And just another thing about dealing with Void Rays once they get the speed upgrade is that that's when it really becomes critical to have something like Blink or some sort of speed augmenting tech like Stim or I don't know what the Zerg equivalent would be. Fungal growth maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, but, well, for Zerg, once you get past early game Void Rays, really without fungal growth, you're kind of screwed because you need the fungal growth to keep them in place. You need the Mutalisk then to do that multiple damage balance modifier. I think
that I agree with what you just said, and I think that I think with any sort of upgrade any sort of unit that's harassing you that has a speed upgrade, it's so important to be able to match that speed in some way or counter it in order to defend against the harass.
Wait, I mean, did this guy just say cheat more, asshole? Yeah. Is he pissed off at you? I love when players rage, when the player sucks and is like, how come I went off my cheese?
No, what he was talking about is there's a moment where he gets mad actually. After he cheese mate, there's a moment when he gets mad because, let me see if I can get back to it. Where he was targeting my Dark Shrine or something like that. Okay. Or this pylon. Yeah, and
then you cheated.
Yeah, and then I cheated because I warped in Stalkers and I killed him, and he should have killed the pylon before it died.
Yeah.
he got mad because he didn't get that one pylon kill at 33 health.
Yeah, I actually I get afraid sometimes because when players do this to me, when like I'll fight back cheese, players get violent.
It says, of course, hacks.
Yeah, like players get violent. Cheese players are like the most violent players you'll ever encounter. And people will sit there, like last night even, I had a guy calling me a fag, like over and over, being like, "You're just lucky, you fag, and you suck my thing, you suck it down." And I started going back at him because I get pissed off. I'm like, I'm gonna make this guy be so angry that he lost that he's gonna like beat his wife after this.
You're so provocative.
And I kind of get afraid that one day I'm gonna have a Starcraft ladder player
show up at
my
your
door.
house. Yeah, you're definitely
like,
not.
You are a faggot.
You definitely should not make your user ID your real name.
Yeah, never.
That's bad for you.
All right, so let's get on to a third and final game where we focus on some Zerg.
Cool. All right.
All right. Okay, Zerg.
Hi again.
Hey, how are you?
I like you guys.
Are you feeling good?
I like them.
I'm so cold today. It's crazy.
Do you viewers want to be my wife?
Yeah.
I need a wife.
You do need a wife.
Yeah.
Make you cool.
I know.
Stop playing Starcraft as much.
No.
So dealing with Zerg, and everyone, I don't know. I always feel like Zerg's the least cheap race, but I guess in kind of most ways that's not true at all.
That's a psychosomatic effect.
Yeah.
Of you playing Zerg and not cheesing.
I think it's because I look in the mirror a lot and think like I'm so cool, and then I play Zerg and I associate that with the mirror.
So this is a very early drone scout. Like I think it's a 6 scout or 7 scout.
Yeah, it's right away, and so
and a very early pool.
Yeah. So this is a 7 pool right now. I feel like, you know, on ladder, Zerg rushes are just so prevalent to the point where it's almost insane.
I get angry because I really like to do like fast Nexus builds against Zerg, and anytime you get like 7 pulled or 10 pulled, like I'll play like 5 games in a row against Zerg and get 10 pulled every game.
Yeah. Well, Zerg just likes to win.
It's like the Zerg version of a 4-gate.
I feel like there's 2 versions of Zerg players. There's ones that actually like to play the game, and others that just think the game is like, can I build Zerglings quickly?
Yeah, it's like,
and that's it. Like, that's as far as their thought process goes.
No, really, I agree with you, but to put it in a nicer way, I guess, is that there are 2 types of players. I think there's players who want to try to learn how to play the game in all its glory.
Yeah.
And then there's players who just want to win the game.
Yeah. Okay. So at this point, you've scouted exactly what's about to happen.
Well, no, I scouted and saw 6 drones out of his base and thought to myself, that's not good.
Yeah. Like, what's happening?
And then I scouted 7 Zerglings or whatever, however many that are, 6, I think.
But this
4.
is all right. So this is obviously
6.
an all-in, and I personally see drone rushes a lot.
Actually, let's go. I want to go back actually a little bit so I can look at my response to that also.
All right.
The immediate response.
So I see drone rushes a lot on ladder, especially in ZVZ. Zerg players just love to drone rush you, build a spine crawler as their drones are in your base, so you have to choose like targets. Do I kill the spine crawler? Do I kill the drones? It's really it's not that it's a powerful push, it's the kind of push that's confusing.
Yeah.
It's very hard to it screws up your targeting priorities. Like that's where the cheese part of it really comes in, not just in the early speed of it itself, but in that they force you to have to prioritize in a way that you're not used to of what do I kill first.
Yeah, and also a lot of times it's a different sort of prioritization too, where it's what do I build first. You have so many limited resources early game. It's like what things and in what order that I build right now are going to give me the best potential to live through this.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the decision-making aspect comes in. This is a situation where it's very important to know the right response right away. And if you were watching, you could see that what I did is as soon as I scouted it, I quickly built a forge immediately with my first money. Then I walled in with a pylon with my second 100. And then I started a zealot because I knew that I could chrono boost the zealot out and get it out quickly.
Yeah.
It wasn't so critical to start the zealot right away.
Yeah.
The most critical thing I feel like is to start that forge as fast as possible. And because you can see, even with this few amount of Zerglings, with a 7 pool, he still has enough Zerglings that he's going to be able to get my Zealot dead.
Yeah.
Kill it, in other words.
I like that better. Get it dead!
and push in. Now, one problem with this, with my responses here, and it's easy to make mistakes in this sort of stressful situation. You can see I was about to build a cannon next to the forge, but I got my probe killed. Is that my cannons aren't covering my Nexus.
Yeah. That's cool, but I mean that's a specific Protoss part of it. And
yeah,
it's a screw up. But What I want to focus on is what's happening right at this exact moment, and this is what kills. If you lose to a rush, I feel like this is pretty much 50% of the equation of why anyone loses to a drone rush or a drone Zergling rush.
Yeah.
The Zerglings, obviously you're busy up here, but the Zerglings and drones are coming and attacking your probes, and I feel like this is a very, what is it, symptomatic?
I don't know what you're trying to say, man.
It's very normal of like, okay, well, I've built some response. Like okay, as a Zerg player, I have some Zerglings coming out possibly, or my pool's going to finish, or your cannon's about to finish, and maybe I'll be okay, so I can keep mining minerals. Like, I can recover from this as long as I get these. And there's this mind state of, if I just get my defensive units out, if I get my structures up, that I will be okay from this push, from this attack, and I'll recover, and I keep mining and doing whatever I want. And this person catches me off guard, and I have the same response of like, okay, they're attacking your probe line. You're trying to get a couple more mineral hits off and whatever. But what people fail to recognize a lot is, no, this isn't all in. This ends right here and now. One of us wins, one of us loses right now, because these drones, they're not mining.
Yeah.
All of them are in your base. And the moment you see that, it's like, probes should just be, the moment they come at your probes should just be pulled off. They are now your warriors. They're epic, beautiful pieces.
I understand what you're saying. See, that's not really so much my problem as really my problem is the point of view of how many, what does Zerglings does he have? 3. See, my problem is more, like, there's a lot going on right here, and like, the thought that I'm having is, I guess if I attack him right now with how many probes do I have? If I attack with the probes right now, I get your point. I mean,
yeah, you could honestly beat back most of his units right now if that switch triggered in your head of, this is the end of the game. This game's going to be over within 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And it all depends if I fight or if I don't.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's a very, very common mistake. Again, I'm not saying you're making a mistake personally, because you do have defenses going up. You are kind of doing it your way. But I do, like, I'm just making the overall common point of why I know I lose, why some replays that people send me of cheesing, of why I see them lose, of... There's that whole mindset of recovery of, well, he's not mining, but I am.
I think the part that I do agree with you with is that my mistake here, I feel like, is that my concentration is 100% on this part of my base.
Yeah.
And none of my concentration is on this part of my base, actually.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit of the freak out mentality, because realistically, if you took the thought logically and if you had a moment to breathe and think clearly, you'd be like, oh, all these drones and Zerglings are in my base already.
Yeah.
Nothing else is coming here. Like, there's nothing else to come.
Yeah.
They're already past here. And it's just it's a symptomatic of a cheese build. It throws you off. You go, bam, bam. Okay, am I okay? You know, like...
I do think, though, that that his initial attack of 6 Zerglings and 6 drones is enough to kill your entire mineral line. But the difference is that because of my defense at the choke with my Zealot, I was able to kill half of his Zerglings.
Yeah.
And 3 Zerglings plus 2 drones, because 4 of his drones are attacking my cannon, is actually enough that you're right, that if I had pulled my workers immediately and attacked him, that I probably would be okay here.
Yeah. And I just think it's just mark for everyone to remember.
That's totally a good point.
You know,
I think another thing that would have made me safe too, though, is if I had put a cannon closer to my nexus. Also, like here, finally, it's too late at this point. I can't really fight him with the amount of probes I have now. It's too few. But at this point, I'm starting to calm down from the initial shock of it, and what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to bait him towards my cannon and not killing my nexus, but he pulls back. So
I also like, you know, even with your probes away, in some ways the baiting is also using the probe strength to their advantage. Their shields heal quicker than a Zerg will regenerate. So in these instances too, it becomes very race specific on what can I do. You know, if you're a Terran, you can hit, like attack, pull back, repair your SCVs for a second, go back in. Zerg does heal over time, but I feel like theirs is
Yeah.
maybe the weakest. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but
See, my feeling right now too is I don't know why I actually mine minerals. I don't know what I was thinking about mining minerals exactly. Maybe I was thinking maybe to put up another cannon or something.
Yeah.
But really, there came a point at this point where I realized it finally clicked in my head, because we don't always all make the best decisions in these parts of the game.
stupid.
Yeah, it finally clicked into my head of how many drones he brought exactly. He
Yeah.
brought all 6 of his drones, and this is where this game gets kind of a little bit funny, because and it occurred to me like he probably has no drones at home actually.
Yeah, well, there's 2 variations of the Zerg drone rush.
Yeah.
There's the one where they... there's well, more accurately 3. There was one where they just start with 6 drones and come at you. Usually that fails, I feel like. There's the second one where they come at you just like this. They build a few Zerglings, a few drones, and it's 100% all in. And then there's the third variation, which is terrifying, where they build about 12 drones,
Yeah.
come at you, and leave 2 in the
Yeah.
base. And it's so strong, especially in ZVZ, where
But that attack hits a lot later than this.
Yeah, but it's hits very early still. Hits early.
But
than you
against
realize.
Protoss, I feel like
With a wall in, it's
I feel
still
like
different.
this attack is harder to defend actually. This earlier attack is harder to defend against Protoss with a wall in
Okay.
than that somewhat later attack. Because
Yeah.
if you can get 2 zealots out, you can defend against like infinity Zerglings, right?
Yeah, enough.
Pretty
Two Zerglings, two zealots in a choke are kind of the equivalent of God in a ham sandwich.
Yeah. But so this is kind of gets kind of funny at this point because he does have no drones, and I do realize that I can go and attack him.
Yeah.
And he's actually, because of my wall in, like I realized that he doesn't have enough stuff to get back out.
Yeah, he's stuck in the base now.
He's kind of-
so your Wallen was effective in that
Yeah,
way.
I kind of walled him into my base.
It's like you have brilliant foresight.
It's kind of like a B movie exchange where it's like, is this gate meant to keep us in or keep us out? It's like, no, it's meant to keep you in.
Yeah.
You know?
Or like my underwear. I'm never sure what it's meant to be doing.
Yeah.
But I wear it anyways.
Yeah, me too. It was underwear. That's a good point about underwear. Is it meant to keep you in or to keep others out?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
I think it's meant to contain the stench.
I think that's one of the great mysteries of life, like the chicken and the egg question. Is underwear meant to keep you in or keep others out?
Yeah.
There's no real right answer to that.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
all, I guess it depends on the perspective. It's the slow. Oh, and see, he's trying to break out now.
Yeah.
And I liked, from when we watched this game before, the quick tactic that he used of trying to buy
Lead with
time,
his drones, yeah.
buy time for his lings by having his drones be targeted, but you were sitting here targeting his
Yeah.
lings. That's still funny.
Yeah. But actually, I have like a kind of retarded moment also in this game. This game is kind of hilarious in some
Yeah.
ways. Because I
Like
have
that.
this moment I was like, oh fuck!
Yeah. Oh yeah, Zergling buildings are alive.
God damn it!
Yeah.
And so in my mind, I'm like, fuck! It's a draw. It's a draw. This is my first. This is like the only game of StarCraft that's ever been a draw.
Well, draws are funny because it really, except for one minor thing, like there's no, the mechanism for StarCraft 2, they haven't built it in yet. It's
Yeah.
coming, I think, in the next patch of determining a draw.
Yeah. And actually,
So
this-
really, this would come down to, in most games, just seeing who can leave their computer on longer.
Yeah. But the sad thing is that actually this is not a draw
Yeah.
because of the fact that creep recedes without a hatchery.
Yeah.
That I'm actually going to win as his spawning pool slowly loses life off creep.
Yeah.
But you don't want to know what's sad about this actually?
What?
To me is that according to Blizzard's new draw detection rule, that 3 minutes, the 3 minutes for a draw detection will pass before I win this game. So normally I would win this game, but with the new Blizzard draw detection rule, it would be a draw.
Okay.
I think that's kind of bad, right? Do you agree or no?
Wait, so it would have been a draw. Wait, I don't understand. I don't fully
Blizzard's
understand.
putting draw detection.
I know
in
the draw detection, but
And
why are you saying it's bad right now?
because I win this game now.
Yeah.
But with draw detection, I would draw.
Oh, because this wouldn't have died within 3 minutes?
Right.
Oh, that's weird. It's really strange.
Yeah.
I wonder if you should talk to them about that.
Maybe we should send him an email. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Gotcha.
Well, actually, is it that the building dies or if it takes damage? Because if it takes damage, then I would still win. But if it's draw, if it dies, then it would be a draw.
Yeah. I wonder about that. We should
I don't
actually, we
remember
should
the
actually
details.
put a post in the forum saying is about do you include damage to buildings for Zerg buildings dying off creep?
Yeah, it might be damage. It might be if you damage a building, which if that's true, then what I'm saying doesn't make sense. But
Yeah,
if it's the other way around, then that's bad.
yeah. All right. So I know we didn't cover that much. We were going through games today in the past few days of thinking about how are we going to do this, and there's like 5,000 forms of cheese.
Yeah,
But we can't
covered
do
a lot.
everything.
I think it's been a long episode, and also I think I don't mean to cut you off, but I do think that even though we didn't cover every situation and every type of cheese, that's why we have next week's show.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, I feel like we did talk about a lot of the mind state of how you respond to this sort of thing and how you deal with it and how to, make your build order safe by including scouting times, but also how to respond quickly to exactly what you see.
Yeah, and I think a little bit too of I do think we talked a little bit in some ways roundaboutly even about the understanding the psychology of the player rushing against you and and trying to react or not react to that as far as the all-in builds went. And
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, whatever. Loaded comment slightly.
No,
Still.
no. I mean, I agree with you. I think it's funny. Do you ever as a one last little thought? Do you ever, when you like go into a game based on how the player, if they say good luck, have fun to you, do you ever like assume that they're gonna cheese just based on what they say?
Yeah, actually, well, I'm like that's something I'm kind of crazy with.
Yeah.
Where I can usually determine if a player is going to cheese me based on what he says to me in the beginning of the game. With Zerg players, okay, now this is all complete theory, but in my world it's true because in my world it's confirmed repeatedly.
Yeah.
If a Zerg player does not say GLHF back to you, he's rushing you. He is blatantly rushing you, and that's it. To the point where even on like in general, I think it's good practice going against Zerg on short maps to scout early.
Yeah.
I prefer to scout on 8 against Zerg.
Okay.
On short maps because ladder is just so
Your early
abundant.
pool builds can really mess you up.
Yeah, they
if you don't
mess
scout
everything
early.
up.
When I do a gate first build, I scout normally, but when I go like Nexus first, I'll scout on
You need to
8 or
scout on
9.
8.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no way you'll die otherwise. But yeah, if they don't say GLHF, in my head, like I don't even need to scout.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'll say it again, and I'll put in all caps, like "Have fun now, motherfucker," and they still won't. Sometimes they'll LOL and they won't respond. But at that point, it's just confirmed. Rush is coming.
Yeah.
And then there's also the assholes who talk too much.
Yeah.
Where they'd be like,
yeah.
"Hey,
That's
this
actually
is my brother's account. What league are you in?
Yeah.
I'm in bronze."
That's my pet peeve. Is I like if when you go into a game and they're like super friendly
Yeah.
and they're like, "Good luck, have fun. I love Starcraft. I hope you do good."
I read the novels but never played the game before.
Well, no, not even that kind of thing, but like
That
even
happens
if
to me a lot.
like even if they say "Good luck, have fun," and then like put 2 smiley faces or something like that, like even something small like that, if I get that feeling like they're being super nice to me in some way,
Yeah.
I assume that they're cheesing me.
Yeah, it's weird how humanity has evolved. Like we used to be able to tell what people are thinking and feeling by inflections in their tone, by the way they write a word.
Yeah.
And with digitally, there's almost no direct tell, but you're still able to tell, and it's a weird. Like I wonder if anyone's explored that of the timings of when something like of when they type it, how they space the words, how they spell it.
Yeah. Text, internet, chat room inflection.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Should be a college course.
Yeah, and what was the last point I had on all this? One last cheese thing that a carryover from StarCraft 1, and we could pretend it's a replay. And I find players used to do it a lot, but I haven't encountered it just yet in StarCraft 2, but I'm sure it will make a comeback of the guy GG's and then starts talking to you.
Yeah.
I'm like, GG, that was a really good game, man. Like you really got me. And you're just like, you're typing back. You're like, yeah, good game. That was really epic, blah, blah, blah. And in that like 30 seconds that you're kind of being like, cool, I'm just waiting for him to leave. He's building up an army and runs you over.
Yeah, or in that 30 seconds, he's like, at his like secret expansion, he's building 700 cannons.
Yeah, exactly.
So the game drags on for another 30 minutes.
Yeah,
like,
and so
fuck. Or he's hiding his buildings in the corner if he's Terran. I played this game a few weeks ago against this douchebag. Actually, I would even put that up on this episode
so people can find him and hurt him.
This guy who I won the game clearly. Like, I outplayed him, outexpanded him, attacked him. He lifts up all his buildings and flies to every, like, over air corner of the map.
Yeah.
While he slowly, like, lands at a starport somewhere and texts to Banshees.
Yeah.
And comes back and tries to, like, with cloak Banshees, fly around killing my workers.
Okay.
And he got enough of them that the game literally went on for an hour and 45 minutes.
Yeah, I've had games like that too, where they won't quit. They take the hidden expo you can't get to fully, and they say GG, and then that little bit of time buys them enough time to secure it before you can get your units there to,
Yeah.
you know, break the secure.
My thing, like, is if he wasn't an asshole in that sort of situation, I would just leave. I'd be like, you know what, I don't really, just don't
Yeah,
really
no,
have,
you can't give
I
it
don't
away.
really have time for an hour and 45 minutes. But after that, you can't just let that guy win.
Yeah.
Like it's a waste of your time. You're like, I could have played 3 other games in this amount of time, but
Yeah.
no, I'm beating you.
It is my job right now to destroy you and make you feel like a piece of shit, you
Yeah.
motherfucker.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
True.
Anyways, we love you.
And finally, after I built up from like no probes up to enough money to build a new nexus and enough money to then build a starport, after I got that first Phoenix out, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
it's like
Yeah.
a champion Phoenix.
Yeah. I've waited my whole life for this.
you. Be my wife, Phoenix.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyways, thanks for watching.
GG.
GG.